Poulos.
Here.
Poulos here. Johnson. Johnson absent. Frausto. Frausto absent. Bellato.
Here.
Bellato here. Vieta.
Here.
Vieta here. Rita.
Here.
Rita here. Donahue.
Here.
Donahue here. Hawley.
Here.
Hawley here. Farnwell.
Here.
Farnwell here. Osling.
Here.
Osling here. Thompson.
Here.
Thompson here. Carr.
Here.
Carr here. Pittman.
Here.
Pittman here. 12 present, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. We got presentation of journal proceedings. I need a motion to approve the city council minutes for the date of October the 24th, 2017. Do I have a motion as amended? Do I have a motion by Alderman Poulos, second by Alderman Hawley? Any questions?
I do want to say that there was a modification that Attorney Korvac wanted to have for one sentence there, and I put that individual page in front of each of you.
All right.
Who was it? Poulos?
Yeah, Poulos and Alderman Hawley. Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Slattery.
Aye.
Slattery, aye. Poulos.
Aye.
Poulos, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. Back to Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Vieta.
Aye.
Vieta, aye. Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Hawley.
Aye.
Hawley, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Osling.
Aye.
Osling, aye. Thompson. Thompson, aye. Carr.
I guess I don't really understand why that was stricken from the record.
It's not stricken, it's just clarified there, so it's still there, it's still as
It's a
verbatim
change.
from the tape
The
actually.
difference, the sentence that's there is a different one. Just like that.
It was verbatim from the tape actually.
I,
Carr, aye. Pittman.
Aye.
Pittman, aye. 13 ayes, Your
Thank you
Honor.
very much. Now I need a motion to approve the city council minutes for the date of November 14th, 2017. Do I have a motion by Alderman Donahue? Second by Alderman Rita. Any questions? Roll call.
Slattery.
Aye.
Slattery, aye. Poulos.
Aye.
Poulos, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. Vieta. Vieta, aye. Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Hawley.
Aye.
Hawley, aye. Farnwell.
Aye.
Farnwell, aye. Osling.
Aye.
Osling, aye. Thompson.
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Carr.
I,
Carr, aye. Pittman.
Aye.
Pittman, aye. 13 ayes.
Thank you very much. And we'll open up to public comment again. Any comments from the public? Hopefully it's limited to agenda. If not, we'll direct it to a director, a department head, or some member of my office, my administration, if you need to clarify something. Is there anyone? Alderman?
Give my name and address. Good evening. Tonight I stand at this podium addressing the City Council, not as an alderman, but as a resident. We as residents respect and honor our authority to make appointments to the committee. We also respect our aldermen as a whole and ask pertinent questions to those that you wish City Council to confirm. As a resident, I question how can we appoint a director of finance who would make more than the average median income of this community, where no such position is currently filled at this time. A month ago, you were asking the residents to take on the burden of a steep water rate increase. You yourself, Mr. Mayor, said you would be in favor of at least an 18% increase after hearing how grave our financial situation is. I remind the City Council that a month ago, local business owners and residents came to this very room for the public hearings for the rate increase and told us how an increase would affect their businesses and their pocketbooks. We need to listen to Alderman Thompson give a passionate statement on how this would affect her constituents, which was from the heart. To fill this director of finance position is a step backwards financially. We have worked together for years to make Blue Island better. We built bridges, roads, addressed concerns, and most importantly, had fun helping our neighbors. I knocked on doors getting signatures and asking for votes for you, Mr. Mayor. I told my neighbors, family, and friends that you're a good man who wants to support our residents and help our community. Now I watch as you fill a job vacancy with strangers from outside our community. Fill a fire chief position from outside our fire department. I am truly sad and concerned with the direction of the line is headed. Recently there was a event with one of our firemen who was diagnosed with leukemia. Barely any of the elected officials showed up. I'm sure there was good reason for them to not attend, but in previous years that wouldn't have happened. I hope that everyone can come back together working as a team towards a positive goal. 24,000 residents are expecting us to represent their interests positively and professionally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? I'll need your name and address. Name and address.
Sure.
Carol DePace Green, 2731 Orchard Street, Blue Island. There's been a lot of discussion about meetings that are outside of the city council chambers. And I have a lot of concerns, as do, I'm sure, a lot of other people. When you have a group of elected officials that are getting together, discussing city business, you have to be very careful, because you are easily going to fall into a category where you are violating the Open Meetings Act. I think that has happened repeatedly in the past. I have grave concerns regarding the path that some of this stuff is taking. Certainly, I'm hearing from people who live in my ward that alleys were not fixed. They have a lot of concerns. Certainly, Ms. Slattery, Ms. Carr, Mr. Pittman were all aldermen in the ward where I live. And I'm hearing over and over again about the alley and safety issues. Some of the concerns that I have that I want to talk about have to do with some payments that are going out. Specifically, a payment to Antero Group for $135,545. I don't recall Antero Group being given a contract that was voted on in the city council meeting. I don't know what kind of service Antero Group provides. Lakeshore was provided a check for $107,737.25. We've heard all about savings with Lakeshore. I'm not so sure that that's a big savings. In the past, I'd asked questions about the JAWA, when the next JAWA meetings are, when can we get reports regarding how much money is being spent on this, when the next JAWA court date is. We don't get information regarding that. We should be receiving that information. Certainly, the JAWA court case is not over with. We are still locked into JAWA. The next court date is December 7th. I've made several of the court dates. I can assure you, none of the people in this room, on this council, I haven't seen any of you there. You guys should know better than I do how much money is pouring out of this city toward that mess. The other issues I have are...
Your time is running out, just so you know.
Are regarding the water fund monies that have been misspent. Certainly there are going to be meetings taking place in the city of Chicago regarding municipalities that are charging more than what Chicago charges per 1,000 gallons. My guess is they either want it stopped or they want to cut. Anybody want to take bets on which one it might be? We need to proceed very carefully with our taxpayer dollars, because we're just hemorrhaging money. I also spoke with the clerk regarding money that's being paid to Mona Martin. Then certainly she's a lobbyist, but it really looks like the amount of money we pay her is what she gets for us to get things fixed like bridges and roads. So it ends up being a wash. All these things need to be looked at very carefully. Thank you for listening. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? report of city officials, presentation of resolutions. As mayor's announcements, as we all know, this coming Saturday, and Alderman Pauly, remind me if I speak inappropriately. The Christmas light parade, our famous Christmas light parade, was very successful last year and the years prior to that. 46 entries last year, approximately. Is coming Saturday at 5:30, and then 6:30 the lighting tree by myself and the administration, all of you. You want to get a little, since we have it on the floor, you want to get a little more information regarding the lighting?
Sure. On Saturday from 1 until 5, there'll be free train rides for the smaller children and actually even larger children. There's a Ferris wheel that'll be there for smaller children because those cages are very small. But they were busy all day, the whole time last year, so they're having them back this year. We're having a Kringle Mart this year. It'll be under tent this year. So, and of course, they're calling for sunny and 47 or 52, depending on who you listen to. I'm hoping for 52. So we probably didn't need the tents, but if we didn't have them, it'd be snowy and rainy and gross. So come on out and help support the people who are going to have their tables at the Kringle Mart. Cantel Zoman worked very hard on that, along with a number of other people. And there's a large committee that works on it and puts it together every year. By the way, the Kringle Mart and the rides are all happening at the Lot E on Western Avenue between High and Union Street. So they'll be up there. We used to close York Street, but we're going to leave York Street open. We're moving it to the parking lot just just north of D-Mars there. So come on with the kids and shop. The parade starts at 5:30 and it kicks off at Union and Western. It'll go south on Western Avenue. It'll take the loop around by Veterans Triangle and head back north and end up at Union. So if it's too crowded on Western Avenue, particularly between York and New Street, where it's always too crowded, feel free to move over to Gregory Street and see the parade, or move up or move south, because it's very crowded in that one block. So just know that there's more space further north, further south, and also on Gregory Street. And then the tree lighting will be at 6:30 following the parade. And then there's free horse-drawn wagon rides that are open to the public. They'll be loading up at Metro South Park at York and Western, and they will be going through the neighborhood and come back around and let you off at Metro South Park as well. Santa and Mrs. Claus are going to be in the Santa house at Union and Western, in that same parking lot where the Kringle Mart is. They'll be there till 9 o'clock to take pictures with the kids. They'll start about 6:45 once they get done with the parade. So come on out, it's a nice day. There's business open houses all the way up and down Western Avenue. A number of businesses are staying open, so you can basically shop until you drop on Saturday afternoon and evening.
Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Following announcements on a personal nature. The last city council meeting, I informed the council and to pray for my niece, Emily Inman, who was going to undergo some very serious brain surgery. I want to report to all of you that she made it. Again, thank you for your blessings. Thank you for your prayers. She is now recovering at home in Indiana. Once she recovers fully, she will be moving back with her husband to Iowa. She's a 28-year-old woman who has suffered since the day basically she was born, and tremendously severely ill with the bone marrow transplant that was not able to perform because there was no match, including my cousin, who as a result of preparing for the bone marrow transplant died. But Emily's doing well, and thank you very much for your prayers. Thank you. As you know, the Director of Finance and Administration is a mayoral appointment. Again, this office has not been filled since prior to the director leaving the office back in January of 2017. It's a very essential office. It's essential to running the city of Blue Island. In order to find a highly qualified individual for this office. We here at the city have posted on the city's website and the website of a professional organization called the Illinois County/County Management Association, which resulted in the submission of multiple applicants. We conducted interviews of 2 applicants along with 2 aldermen, and I was asked to be part of the interview team. The search resulted in the selection of Mr. Mike Marzo, who is highly qualified for this position. This evening, I'm asking for your support in appointing Mr. Mike Marzo as the Director of Finance and Administration. Mr. Marzo, as you can see from his resume provided to you, brings him extensive experience in management of different local governments, including Homewood, Woodstock, etc. Mike and his family are here today. And Mr. Marzo, would you please stand up and introduce yourself?
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mayor and the City Council. My name is Michael Marzell, and I look forward to the opportunity to serving the residents of the City of Blue Island. This is a very exciting opportunity for me. And this evening I have my family here who love and support me, my mother Ann, father Andy, Aunt Sue, and Jody. So I thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to confirm my appointment of Mike Marzell as Director of Finance and Administration? Motion by Alderman Osling, second by Alderman Vieira. Any questions? Alderman Valado.
I have several questions, Mayor, and I understand, open up, that you can't appoint, so I don't want to dispute that. But I do have some questions because I just need to know based on how I'm going to vote. Currently, the position you already said was vacant, correct, Mayor?
Correct.
So there's no cost savings by hiring this person correctly right now?
Well, you know what, there's also another position that's vacant also. Another $90,000 position is vacant.
That which brings me to the next question. In the past, when we've done appointments, we've included the salary. Just curious, what's the salary going to be for this position?
It's less than 90, it's 87.5.
Are you still planning to make a roll of all the other appointments at one time, which I've been requesting for months now? I'd like to see where everybody stands all at one time. Fire chief, director this, director that, plumbing inspector, all at one time.
As of right now, unfortunately, given, as you know, what's on the agenda, the fire chief is retiring on the 30th.
No, I understand that. And that's separate questions.
Okay. But as right now, it's critical, I think, in my opinion, professional opinion as mayor, that we hired this individual, Mr. Marzell, for this position.
All right. And again, no offense to Mr. Marzell. I got questions directed just to the position. And I understand that another resident of Blue Island applied for the position with similar qualifications, and also a resident of Blue Island.
In fact, I know where you're going. In fact, if it hasn't reached out, we're reaching out to see if we can also possibly look to see if he is qualified for another position in the city of Blue Island.
I understand that. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So another person applied that was...
Who was also interviewed.
Okay, and then also, Mayor, because it's Director of Finance and Administration, but there's little to no finance background, there will be no savings in eliminating any other financial CPAs or anything like that.
Well, here's the situation. I know Mr. Marzell has participated in a lot of budgeting from a lot of the cities that he's worked for, municipalities. He's done administration and finance, he's prepared the budgets, human resources, correct?
Yes.
Economic development for the communities that you were involved with, labor negotiations, contracting, etc. That's,
Yes.
again,
Yes.
what he brings to the table.
Where does he currently work today?
Right now, he's at a law firm.
And again, I'm sorry, I don't want to address him to you because you're not an employee yet, and however you want to be a mediator for this.
We're at a law firm.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much the questions I have right now, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alderman Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. Is Mr. Marzell a CPA?
No.
I guess I'm asking my questions to Mr. Marzell. Do you know how to do the end of the year, the accounting, closing the books, balancing the books?
I'm not a CPA by trade. I do know the government financing budgeting process. I've been doing that for the past 13 years of my career. most recently managing the budget of the city of Homewood, the village of Homewood, which was a $26 million budget. Working very closely with the auditors as well as the accounting staff to make sure that the end of year budgets line up with what we have
So
planned.
you didn't mention any of that in your resume. So that's my question towards him. What set Mr. Marzell over the other applicant who applied? Because they do both have similar educational backgrounds and similar professional backgrounds. So what was the deciding thing?
One of his work experience in municipal government.
Okay. So are we going to keep Mr. Marzell's salary and the CPA firm as well?
Well, that's what we're going to look to. Maybe there's a savings to Mr. Marzell once he gets the road running, that maybe we can involve the CPA remaining.
Okay. I guess my last thing is I think it's great we're looking outside the box, but when we have great residents who have similar qualifications, I think it's highly insulting to them and highly insulting to the city that we're looking outside the city.
Well, it
So,
shouldn't
thank
be,
you, Mayor.
because as I said it before to Alderman Dorado, we're looking into also that individual. To see if he can assist the city. I know this individual loves the city as well as myself and all of you, and I think he will fit well once we see where he can help us. Any other questions? Alderman Carr?
Was this additional salary run through the finance committee?
It's, in fact, it's less than what, it's already been appropriated. Again, it's towards the end of the year. We're up for reappropriations, and it's less than what we would have paid the previous director.
Okay. We didn't have a previous director. So now this is
Yes,
an
we did.
additional financial burden on the city.
Anastasia?
Matt Anastasia, and his salary was appropriated for 2017, is included in the appropriations from 2017.
And my other question is similar to Alderman Donohue's. Over the last year or so, there's been a lot of discussion about are we hiring Blue Island residents? We allow businesses to come in and we ask, you know, how many Blue Island residents are they going to be giving jobs to? And then we reach outside the city. I know you said that the other candidate would be offered a job with the city, but isn't that also an additional expense to the city?
Well, again, remember, there's multiple positions that are available in the city right now. They're not filled from Mr. Jason Berry's position. That's just an example, not saying that this individual will go into that position, but there's various ones that have not been, are vacant. Alderman, go ahead.
Your comment made me think of another question. If these other positions existed, we kept them vacant because of our issue with keeping our budget in the black. Our funds on
They're
reserve.
vacant because we couldn't find an appropriate candidate to run those offices.
All right, so we're going to hire this person, possibly hire another person. Why would we look for a water rate increase then?
I didn't want a water rate because I'm against the water rate increase if it's necessary.
Okay, all right. Glad you said
Again,
that.
I think that we should do a forensic audit just on the water rate to see if we have the need.
Amen.
Mayor, I still have a comment. I'm not against any of what you said. I just wanted to ask a question. So, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess I have another question for Mr. Marzell. If you're working at a law firm currently, why don't you have that listed on your resume? It's kind of deceiving with it not being on there, if this isn't up to date.
I wanted to make sure that my resume reflected what the position requirements are. The law firm is a workman's comp law firm, so yes, the city I'm sure has workman's comp issues, but I wanted to highlight my local government experience.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Anything else?
In your previous task history, in your Homewood, where else you worked at, how well did you work collaboratively with your treasurer?
I believe in working very collaboratively with all the village departments. It's very important to have good communication amongst all the departments in the treasurer's office so that everyone knows what's going on, specifically with the finances as well as any other activities going on within the city. So one of my managerial traits is very open, clear communication with all parties involved.
Okay, I agree. I got that, but is your philosophy that the treasurer oversees the funds of the city overall?
Again, I think it's a very collaborative process to make sure that everyone involved knows what's going on. Ultimately, the treasurer has the power and authority to do with the funds.
Collaboration with the treasurer. Collaboration with the treasurer will be open and fully involved.
That's the way
I would hope that the mayor would, because in the past 2 or 3 years, the mayor has insisted that the change from the past, the treasurer would oversee a lot of transactions, business, be involved in more actual participation of overseeing the finances of the city. Because there has been history. Thank you very much.
Sorry, one more question. Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Marzell, what's your experience with working with banks to get for bonding authority, going out for bonds, getting loans, especially the local banks that we deal with here, because it's a little bit different probably than the banks you're dealing with Homewood. And what relationships would you say you have with these bankers?
Specifically at Homewood, we did go out for a bond back in 2015. If I recall from that process, we did secure, I want to say like a $5 million loan from a local bank that gave us the best rates. That process was, we solicited multiple banks to get the best rates, and we did find out, if I recall correctly, it was the local bank that gave us the best.
What was your role in this process?
I was working with the director of finance at the time and making sure that we advertised for the loan process in multiple different areas so we could get the best vendors to submit applications. So again, I'm not a CPA, but I wanted to make sure that we reached out to a very wide variety of banks so we could get the best bang for our buck.
Thank you, sir.
Alderman, go ahead.
Do you have any experience regarding an appropriation for the city of Homewood? Did you help with the appropriation process?
Well, as part of the overall budgeting process, which is the appropriation process, I oversaw the budgeting process for the village as well as the individual departments. So I could talk a little bit more about that, but
So you had an active role?
yes, at every single, yes.
Okay.
In short, yes, I was at every single one of the meetings, at every single one of the budget and finance committee meetings, and making sure that the budget was presented for the overall process. I was involved with the timelines for departments to submit their individual budgets, as well as reviewing the departmental budgets before they go to the city for ultimate approval. So the short answer is yes.
Does the village of Homewood, do they have do they use an appropriation, or do they have a budget? Where they have particular line items?
It's a budget with particular line items. Ultimately, there's a budget hearing in front of the entire city, and it's open to the public. At that time, both residents and city, in that case, trustees, were able to ask questions of the budget. Those questions are answered, and then at a meeting after that, the budget is approved and the appropriations are made.
Alderman Carter. Go ahead, Alderman.
I was looking at your resume, and you have a degree in public administration and a degree in public affairs. How many accounting classes did you have to take to get those?
Many. Both in my undergrad, there were budgeting and accounting 101, 102. Once I finally found Indiana in the School of Public and Environmental Affairs, if I recall, I excelled very well. I got A+ in those classes, as well as at the when I got my master's from Northern Illinois University, there was a budgeting and accounting class that I took there. That was Professor Powell was the professor that offered that class. And then 13 years of day-to-day operations, understanding how local governments and budgets work in and out. It's one thing to learn it in theory; it's another thing to do it in practice.
Alderman Donnie,
Thank you again, Mayor. I promise this is my last round of questions. Why did you leave the village of Homewood?
I had a medical issue which has been resolved, and I'm happy that I'm healthy.
Do you have a letter of recommendation from the village of Homewood?
Not in my pocket, but I'm sure we call Jim Marino, who is my boss, and give me a good recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you both.
What all aldermen sat in the interview.
I wasn't. Yes.
So was the mayor and Alderman Holly?
Yeah, there was another alderman who asked not to be identified.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Alderman.
What made you pick Mr. Marsville over the other candidate?
Again, his working experience, especially in Homewood, that community, the budget he dealt with over there, and his experience in the other municipalities, hands-on.
Doesn't the other candidate also have experience?
Not from my understanding, a municipality, working for a city. But again, we're still looking at that individual, to see if that individual can assist us in the city in the very near future.
I do want to say that we ended up interviewing 2 candidates for this position only from the resumes that we got. And both of them had this very similar degrees in education, and they both had great interviews. I think what it did come down to was the day-to-day, full-time work with 3 different municipalities, one of which is Homewood, which I think we would all love to be like, and try and do some of the things that Homewood has done, and in the last, especially 5 or 6 years. I just think that it was very close, but I do think it was because of his experience with day-to-day, hands-on experience with working for municipalities that won me over, and the reason why I recommended him to the mayor. The mayor made the ultimate decision.
Thank you. Alderman Brooke.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you and your team for engaging in a process that I think is very useful, which is to post the job publicly, both on the city website and on this site that is viewed by municipal employees, and then gathering the resumes, and then, I mean, it sounds like you had maybe a difficult choice, you had some good candidates, so, there's that, but I'm pleased that this process was followed.
Alderman Green, did you have a question? No? Alderman Green.
Didn't the other candidate also have experience with the city of Blue Island?
As an alderman.
So he would know something about the workings of the city.
Correct. But again, he's not out of the box yet.
And if I could just interject, I mean, you're also an alderman, but do you know the inner workings of the city so detailed, in such a detailed way, on a day-to-day, full-time basis?
I'm just saying,
So
the other
yes,
candidate lives in Blue Island, and has some familiarity with the government of Blue Island.
I understand that, and I'm all for hiring Blue Island people, me personally. But being on finance just for the short period of time since being off for a couple of years, it's getting to be a little. We're hearing more and more information about the financial situation of the city, and my thought process is that we need to be good stewards with this people's money. And to me, we need to get, when we do hire people, we need to have somebody who's qualified in that position and get the most bang out of the buck. And on this one, it was incredibly close, like I said, but I do think we're going to get the most bang for the buck out of Mike Marzell.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second.
Your Honor, I just have to question whether it's proper for the aldermen who were in on the hiring to also vote on the confirmation.
Give us your answer. Absolutely.
I would think that would be somewhat of a conflict.
Give us a legal opinion. Roll call.
Slattery.
No.
Slattery, no. Pulos.
Aye.
Pulos, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Bellato.
I'd rather have it the other way around. We hire a Blue Island resident first, so my vote's going to be no.
Well, I don't know. Vieta?
Aye.
Vieta, aye. Rita?
I too agree that, I think that we should have hired a Blue Island resident, so on that reason, I have to vote no.
Rita, no. Donahue?
I like to echo what Alderman Bellato and Rita said, we should have hired locally, so I am also a no.
Really? Donahue, no. Hawley?
Aye.
Hawley, aye. Fahrenwald?
Aye.
Fahrenwald, aye. Ostling?
Aye.
Ostling, aye. Thompson?
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Carr?
No.
Carr, no. Pittman?
No.
Pittman, no. 7 ayes, 6 noes, Your Mayor.
I vote aye.
I got on the question, according to statute 3.1-30-5, on mayoral appointments, the mayor cannot cast a vote. It's an exception under that statute.
Council.
The mayor can cast a vote, an 8th vote is necessary. Furthermore, a 7-6 vote would carry this particular appointment, but he can cast his vote and indicate his preference. The motion should carry.
Thank you.
I'd like to keep that in the minutes then, please, this time around. The mayor casts the vote against statute 3.1-30-5, an exception to mayor appointments, that a mayor cannot cast a vote on a mayoral appointment.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, I look forward to working with you.
Fire Chief Clinker, after years of service with, and whom we will be honoring at the next agenda item, is retired. As such, I conducted a search for the next fire chief. The position of fire chief is also a mayoral appointment. And in order to find a highly qualified individual for this office, the position was also posted on the city website. The posting resulted in numerous applications, with 6 applicants being invited for interviews. The interviews were conducted by a committee, which included an alderman and an outgoing fire chief. Other aldermen were invited to be part of the process, but indicated they were unable to do so or declined. The process resulted in the selection of Daniel Greta as the next fire chief of the city of Blue Island. Again, I'm asking for your support in the appointment of Daniel Rita as fire chief of the city of Blue Island. Mr. Rita, as you can see from this resume provided to you, comes from a nearby municipality where he acted as assistant fire chief for 12 years. Daniel and his family are here today. Daniel, please stand up and introduce yourself. Daniel.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman, Alderwomen, thank you. On behalf of my family, thank you for this opportunity. They're here tonight. My wife Julie stepped out with the baby Xavier. Xander, Zach, my mom and dad. Also have brother and sisters from the Tinley Park Fire Department and surrounding suburbs, as well as different members that I've worked with throughout the years.
Thank you. Do you have a motion to confirm my appointment of Daniel Rita as fire chief of the city of Blue Island?
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Hawley, second by Alderman Fairwell. Any questions? Alderman Bellato.
Again, Mayor, I don't dispute the authority to appoint with confirmation of council, but I do have some questions. I didn't have so many questions until I got an email last night from a former fireman and Blue Island resident, Kenneth Dompling, who said he applied for the position and never received a phone call or a call back or an interview. And he emailed the alderman last night asking for a response that he was slighted, that he needed to get a call back. As a Blue Island resident and former fireman. That's one question. And I didn't have that till last night. I'm sure you got the same email.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an answer for that one?
With respect to the...
I'd like to ask the mayor to
I'm
respond.
just going to help him answer this question, okay, so you understand.
I'm sure you're going to tell me something that sounds nice. That's fine. I'll go to my next question.
Disrespectful.
I asked the mayor a question. Please let the mayor answer. You can't just tell me.
Mr. Bellato, first, please let me just...
Secondly, there was another person that applied that has the qualifications, that's also a Blue Island resident that's not currently in our fire department. He was interviewed, but again, another Blue Island resident, who has the qualifications that applied, that we couldn't give the opportunity first, who serves in the same role in a full-time fire department as this candidate here. Nothing personal as a candidate.
And who also wanted $150,000 as a salary.
I'm just making a statement.
Whoa.
Wow.
Maybe just not gonna save money.
I expected an answer from the first one also about Kenneth Dompling, but that's okay. There's also 2 people in Blue Island in our own house, a fire department, that applied, 2 lieutenants that applied for this position, in-house. I'm sure I'll think of other questions. That's all I have right now.
And the Alderman Carr.
For the finance and administration person, you posted in a professional website as well as the city website.
Right.
From what you've told us, it doesn't look like the opening was posted in a professional firefighter's website. It was only posted on the city website.
We attempted to
Sir,
post it,
I'm
I
asking
mean, if
you.
I may, we
Well, no,
attempted
you
to
may
post it.
not. I'm asking the mayor.
The mayor's asked me to assist him in answering the question. So if I may,
Go ahead.
all right? We attempted to post on the Fire Chiefs Association website. However, the website did not acknowledge the posting. Given the fact that Fire Chief Klinker is retiring at the end of the month, and the importance of the position of Fire Chief, we posted on the city website. I believe there were either 6 or 7 interviews conducted. I believe you were invited to participate in the interviews, Alderman, but declined for personal reasons. But there were either 6 or 7 interviews conducted based upon applications that were received from persons who obviously looked at the city website. But there was an attempt to post on the Fire Chief's website, and it was not successful.
Alderman Dunn.
Thank you, Mayor. What sets, so I know we have 2 lieutenants from the Blue Island Fire Department that applied for the job. And Mr. Reed, I'm sure, is a great firefighter. He's a local 150 guy for a long time, but a part-time firefighter, part-time chief. What set him off from our full-time lieutenants who applied? What was the difference that we didn't go with someone who's going to be full-time that we're going to rely on still to respond to these emergencies?
Well, again, his experience as assistant fire chief for the past 12 years, that's one of the things that I looked at.
What was some of the other things you looked at?
His day-to-day functioning at those fire departments, the Tinley Park Fire Department, his experience locally, I think it was in Cal Park, if I'm not mistaken.
It's more Cal Park.
Correct. The surrounding suburbs, his work ethic with those surrounding municipalities, who also work in conjunction with this department. Yes, sir.
So could you answer the reason about Mr. Dompling and why he wasn't even interviewed?
I know we received it late Thursday or Friday.
He said he turned one in by the deadline, hard copy and email copy.
As you know, and I think you know, there's new requirements this past August, requirements of what a fire chief needs to comply with. So we looked at everything.
So why wasn't he interviewed then? You looked at everything.
We didn't meet some of the requirements.
What requirements did he not meet? And what was he told why?
In fact, we were responding to, in fact, the letters went out, that we responded, our letter responded to all the applicants and candidates, whether we interviewed them or not. The letters went out.
Would you like me to read the qualifications?
Should I just refer to you as Mayor Horvath then? Since you're the one who's... You keep interrupting, you whispering in his ear. That's what he's supposed to do. He's to whisper in his ear for every answer?
Come on.
Something you get more. Watch him.
Was everyone that applied for this position, other than Mr. Dompling, interviewed?
There was other individuals who also were not interviewed because they didn't meet the correct qualifications.
What were some of the qualifications?
Again, the ones that our attorney was going to read out. Go ahead, Alden.
In one of the emails, I saw that Ms. Walsh did not meet the requirements, and yet it's my understanding that she was interviewed anyways. If she didn't meet the requirements, why would she be interviewed, and then Mr. Dompling, who you say didn't meet the requirements, would not be interviewed?
I don't have Ms. Walsh's resume in front of me. However, if I'm not mistaken, she met a number of the certifications, and it wasn't, I believe, learned until the interview process itself that she didn't have exactly what was necessary. Mr. Dompling had none of the certifications that are now required by state statute for a fire chief to be hired. Those are firefighter basic certification or firefighter 2 certification, Office of the State Fire Marshal, Fire Officer 1 and 2 certifications. And he also did not have the educational requirements that are now required in the legislation. The educational requirements are either an associate degree in fire science or a bachelor's degree from an accredited university or college. Those were requirements that were lobbied for by the Illinois Association of Firefighters. Those were things that the Firefighters Association thought were important for any fire chief to have. The one thing he had that was a requirement was the experience in the department itself, but he had no other professional certifications or qualifications. That was one of the things that was noted. All right. I believe 6 interviews or 7 interviews were conducted, but again, I don't have Ms. Walsh's resume in front of me to answer all of the questions concerning her certifications.
Is Mr. Dompling presently employed as a fireman in the city of Blue Island?
No.
He's retired, right?
Correct.
Does he live in Blue Island at the present time?
Not that I know.
Thank you. There you go.
So I have one more question for you, and I'm going to direct my questions to Mr. Rita. What's the transition plan with the fire department in regards to, I know Mr. Klinker, Chief Klinker is pretty much done after today. So what's the I'm just curious, just on transitional big picture.
Chief Klinker, because he's still chief, is willing to come back and work with Mr. Rita for the transition.
So can I direct my questions to Mr.
Just I have one break behind you.
Did Chief Klinker offer to stay for a transition period?
At one point he did.
And what was the outcome of that
It wasn't going
decision?
It wasn't going to be financially good for him.
So we don't have a transition plan in place after Chief Klinker did offer
Well, as I
to
stated
stay
right now,
for a transition.
The chief is willing, the present chief is willing to stay
No, I think
on his
that
own time to assist this chief. Go ahead. Alderman, go ahead.
Same question as before, what's the salary of this position?
It's less, 90 something, or less than that. 90. Less than what we're presently paying our present chief. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Rita, what are your long-term goals for the fire department?
Long-term is to, again, make this the best department possible. To get to long-term, to start short-term.
What are goals? What are overall goals?
To continue to move this department forward, build upon what's already here. There's a lot here to work with. Staffing, again, within budget limits that are laid out before me, which I have not seen obviously yet, would be to increase staffing, increase training, a lot of the stuff that, again, that's here, and you just have to tap into it and continue to build upon what's already been laid out.
Thank you. What are your plans to improve our ISO rating?
ISO rating, what was the last one you guys had?
I'm not sure, but what's your plan to
The plan would be
improve?
to look through all the documents, the paperwork, wherever we need improvement, we just went through it intently. So again, going through the documents, getting that all prepared for the next visit, and getting everything up to speed as is required. That's pretty, I mean, you follow what they lay out, and it's pretty straightforward as far as how you go about doing it. And then with the support from you guys, we can make it happen for sure.
Plans to increase services provided by the fire department, such as moving to ASL care, fire prevention, larger staffing, smaller staffing, etc.
My thoughts?
Well, you're the chief,
Well, I
so
would
yeah,
like
of course I
that.
know.
Again, it's going to be support from the alderman and how much we're going to get, we're going to get. I would love to move forward. And sitting with, I have to meet the department as a whole, go through some of the, obviously personnel and what their thoughts are, and go from there. Sit with you guys and the public safety committee as a whole, and what the thoughts are, what they want to see going forward. Obviously, you guys as the alderman, the mayor, what the thoughts are going forward as far as what the overall picture looks like, and then put that plan together. Once I know all of that, I can formulate a plan for sure.
Great, thank you. Last question. So I know you're a long-time good union guy. What are your views on privatizing the fire service?
I'm against privatizing.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Blau.
Just want to clarify, is Tinley Park full-time or a part-time fire department? Have you had an administrative role in a full-time fire department? Thank you.
Alderman Carr.
So, just for the sake of clarification, you have an agreement with Chief Clinker to stay on?
We spoke not stay on, to help us with the transition.
Well, but you have an agreement with him to stay?
We have a verbal agreement that he would assist.
You've got nothing in writing, just a verbal agreement?
Man to man.
I think you're putting him in a bad spot because you're saying man to man. I don't think he's agreed to anything. You turned down his agreement, Mayor, and I don't mean to speak out of
You
turn.
turned him down as former chief.
But then he retired though. He stayed. You didn't reappoint him. He retired. He asked to stay on for more money, and you said no.
Mr. Rita, I hope in your tenure, and you are approved today, that you will find in your career here in Blue Island the opportunity to hire an African American in the fire department. Presently, we don't have one.
There you go.
Is it true that if we would have hired within the fire department for one of the lieutenants who applied for the job, they would have moved up in turn, which then on the bottom would have left an opening for a hire of a new, possibly African-American fireman?
If part.
Correct?
Could have been, maybe not. Go ahead, do you want to? Go ahead, Alderman Farrell.
Yeah, I just would like to comment that the city's been through kind of a rough time the last 6 months. And there's been a really spirited question and answer session tonight, and I think that's great. That's what this meeting's for. I think the questions have largely been answered very well. I'd like to point out that the mayor is a part-time mayor, and it is his responsibility to surround himself with highly qualified people. I think you can see we've got a highly qualified attorney, we're hiring a highly qualified city manager, and we're hiring a highly qualified fire chief. I think these are all steps in the right direction. And I would just urge everybody on the city council, I know that there are some hard feelings about some things that get, but it's time to move on. It is the time. Thank you.
Alderman Ryan.
I'll save my comments for automatic announcements. Thank you.
Alderman, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, why wasn't Director Rita involved in the hiring of the fire chief? He's the Director of Public Safety.
Well, we invited yourself to participate. We invited the fire chief to participate. In one of the meetings, once our new city attorney came in, there was a conversation in my office where Director Rita was present, myself was present, and Chief Clinker were there. And from Mr. Rita, he can say whether or not that really he was knew more knowledge about the police department, and for the last 2.5 years, basically had let Chief Clinker run that department. And since he has the knowledge and had the knowledge for the fire department, he would be the one best suited to give us some input here who could qualify.
Yeah, but Director Rita is the Director of Public Safety
Right.
overall, and he has negotiated contracts with the fire department. He's worked to get new equipment for the fire department. He's worked with Chief Clinker on a day-to-day basis.
And so have you.
I don't understand what you mean by
You're
that.
president. You're the chairman of Public Health and Safety.
True. I did not feel that it would be appropriate for me to make a judgment on a fire chief. It's my understanding that many towns bring in fire chiefs from surrounding areas to interview for the fire chief. I would not consider myself qualified to interview for a fire chief. You know, I support the fire department. I've done all kinds of crazy things with the fire department. I ran a fundraiser for their equipment. I ran up and down the stairs in some tower with them for, you know, fight for life. I'm 100% for the fire department. I've got nothing against them. But I'm not qualified to interview for a chief's position.
Mr. Rita, were you planning to, I'm assuming it's a full-time position, right? Full-time? Right. Are you still planning to get the position at the local 150 heavy equipment? Thank you. Roll call. Part-time. Roll call.
Slattery.
Sorry, roll call.
Slattery.
As the unpopular answer that nobody likes to hear, even though like to look higher local, Blue Islanders first. Sorry, sir, no offense, but no.
Slattery, no. Poulos.
Aye.
Poulos, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Bellato.
No.
Bellato, no. Vieta.
Aye.
Vieta, aye. Rita.
Also, as Alderman Slattery said, to stay within Blue Island and also within the department. So I vote no.
Rita, no. Donahue.
No.
Donahue, no. Hawley.
Aye.
Hawley, aye. Farinwald.
Aye.
Farinwald, aye. Osling.
Aye.
Osling, aye. Thompson.
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Carr.
No.
Carr, no. Pittman.
No.
Pittman, no. 7-6.
I cast an eye.
I'd like to reflect in the minutes, same thing I said for the first position.
So noted.
3.1-30-5, for mayor's appointments exclusions.
I'd like to make a motion that we offer Chief Clinker a consultant's position for the next 3 months.
I second it.
Sorry, members of the city council, that matter's not on the agenda. So we give the financial obligation. If you want to put it on the agenda for the next meeting, you can do so. You all know the rules and regulations of the Open Meetings Act. And you're fully aware of that fact. So you cannot make that motion and act on it tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Council. Stay right there, sir. You want to invite your family up? You want to stand aside, alongside of him or behind him, whichever way you want to do it. We need you to raise your right hand, please. And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Daniel J. Rita,
Having been appointed or to the office of fire chief
having been appointed to the office of fire chief
for the city of Blue Island,
for the city of Blue Island,
county of Cook,
county of Cook,
state of Illinois,
state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of
the duties of
fire chief
fire chief
for the city of Blue Island,
for the city of Blue Island,
county of Cook,
county of Cook,
state of Illinois,
state of Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
All right, first off, I just want to say thank you to God. He's made this possible for sure. So blessings to him. To the mayor, the aldermen, all the women, all the members up there that are sitting up there, I thank you. I look forward to working with you and everybody here in the city of Blue Island. I think this is a great opportunity. To the men and women that went before me, that I've had the pleasure of working with in all the places that I've been, My undying gratitude to you guys. You guys made me who I am. You've watched out for me. You've looked out for me. We've made roofs, crawled down those halls together, and you guys have always come home safe. So thank you for that. Thank you for letting me bounce the stupid ideas I have in my head that bounce around off of you. Thank you for giving me the feedback that you guys have given me all those years. And I hope that's going to continue, because I know I'm going to be calling you a lot, all of you. So thank you to you guys. To the men and women of the Blue Island Fire Department, I look forward to leading you guys forward. Again, I think there's a lot of possibilities here, and I can't wait to get started. I think that's going to be a great opportunity, and I'm very thankful for that. To my family, my brother and sister who are not here tonight, but had to put up with my fire bug since I was a kid. My sister Angie, who chased fires for as long as I can remember, and still does. She'll call me. She's in Colorado now. Will call me and send me pictures on Facebook and whatnot of the fires. So she still has it. My brother David, who had to listen to my incessant scanner going off and me running out at all hours of the night when I had a driver's license and waking him up. I'm forever grateful for their love and support through the years. My parents, Jim and Kathy, I wouldn't be here without them, so I thank them very much. Both of them have instilled in me so many values. I mean, again, from work ethic to integrity, patience at times, which is very difficult for me, and the greatest of that is love, the way to love. The love they've showed and displayed as a couple, the love they've showed for their fellow mankind. I couldn't ask for a better set of parents. And to my family, who's unfortunately outside, but the boys, Aiden and Danny, who are not here unfortunately, and the boys, Xander, Zach, and Xavier, the Z-Pack, thank you for letting me be able to be your father. Thank you for letting me be able to look through life through your eyes as a kid in a different perspective and stay young. And to my wife, Julie, who, again, has had to listen to a lot more than the guys have. She listens to everything and, again, is the same. She keeps it all together from me being gone at the firehouse and then work and then coming home and still supporting me throughout everything. She's my hero. She's the true hero. She keeps it all together, and for her, or without her, I would not be standing up here tonight. So thank you. Again, there's too many people. I would be remiss if I left people's names or if I started giving them through names. So you guys know who you are. And thank you for the ones that have come out to support me again. And like I said, I look forward to everything that we have going forward. So thank you, and God bless.
Chief Klinker, I need you at the center podium. Chief, this is very difficult for me. As an alderman,
Can I ask for my picture, please? Did you give me that? Thank you. Everyone knows I don't like this. I would appreciate my pictures. Thank you.
again, being a long time as an alderman, knowing you as a firefighter and then in the ranks, and then as a commissioner of St. Benedict's. This is a resolution honoring not us, but honoring you, honoring the fire chief, Jim Klinker, with many, and I repeat, many years of service to the city of Blue Island. The city that he never left. Again, he could have lived anywhere, but he decided to remain the local boy, the local man in his community. It reads as follows. Whereas Jim Klinker began his service as a firefighter in the Blue Island Fire Department on August 1st, 1985. And whereas Jim Klinker, during the course of his career, exhibited dedication, commitment, and constant, I repeat, constant willingness to strive for personal excellence as a firefighter and specifically as a public servant. And whereas because of his dedication, commitment, and knowledge, Jim Klinker rose first to the rank of first group fire lieutenant on March 3rd, 28,
my daughter's birthday. Next, to the position of Deputy Chief on August 9th, 2013. And then to the highest position in the fire department, that of Chief on July 17th, 2014. And whereas throughout all his years of public service, Jim Klinker maintained a high level of professionalism and civic mindedness when performing his numerous duties as a firefighter, supervisor, and as fire chief in the department. And whereas Jim Klinker, by his actions and deeds as leader of the fire department, has helped the fire department and its members achieve a level of excellence in the city, Jim and his fellow firefighters can be very proud of. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and the city council of Blue Island, Cook County, Illinois, as follows. It reads as follows, section 1. The mayor and the city council of the city of Blue Island, county of Cook, on behalf of themselves and the entire community, do hereby extend their sincere thanks and appreciation to Fire Chief Jim Klinker for his many, many years of dedicated service and excellence to the residents of Blue Island, and wish to thank him for the many valuable contributions he made to the city as a member and fire chief of the City of Blue Island Department during a career spanning over 32 years. This resolution will be in full force and effect immediately upon its passage, and approval is provided by law, and the city clerk is hereby authorized and directed to forward a certified copy of this resolution to Mr. Jim Klinker. It's going to be adopted by myself, the City Council of the City of Blue Island, County of Cook, on the 28th day of November 2017, pursuant to a roll call as follows. I need a roll call. Need a motion by Alderman Bellato, to have a second by Alderman Carr. Any questions? Roll call.
Slattery.
Aye.
Slattery, aye. Pulis.
Aye.
Pulis, aye. Johnson.
Aye.
Johnson, aye. Bellato.
Aye.
Bellato, aye. Vieta. Vieta, aye. Rita.
Aye.
Rita, aye. Donahue.
Aye.
Donahue, aye. Holly.
Aye.
Holly, aye. Thurlow.
Aye.
Thurlow, aye. Osling.
Aye.
Osling, aye. Thompson.
Aye.
Thompson, aye. Carr.
Aye.
Carr, aye. Pittman.
Aye.
Pittman, aye. 13 ayes, Your Honor.
I have just one thing to say. First of all, thank you for that. Second of all, it's my honor to serve the citizens of Blue Island for the last 30 years. And Mayor and City Council, please allow me just a moment just to, I'd like to give my thanks as Director of Public Safety to Chief Klinker, to the Klinker family. Again, those of us that do this for a living and have been doing it for a long time, we understand the stress and the difficulties and the commitment that it takes to do this job. I've been doing it a long time, well over 40 years, and when you're in a senior management position, you understand better than anybody the leadership qualities that it takes to run a fire department such as Blue Island's, in the public safety department, and to do those things that keep our people safe. You can't always be the popular guy, and we know that, Jim. We've had many of those, but you know what? We got a great fire department. I think we've done some amazing things in the last 4 years. We all know what the budgetary constraints are for the city of Blue Island. This poor man had to be as creative as they come with regard to equipment, and with all of those little obstacles, Chief Klinker was able to raise the training standards. Obviously, we've so often had the firefighters here getting commendations and recognition for what they've done, and all I can say is it's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with you, Jim. And on a selfish note, again, those of us that are in these positions, it's nice when you have somebody you can trust in the position, and not only trust, but the person in that position understands what needs to be passed on and what doesn't. When a phone call needs to be made in the middle of the night, or when a simple text message can do. When it's important enough to notify me so I can notify the mayor and the members of the city council of those things that are so important. And it sounds like an easy thing until you start doing this. And again, with all of the obstacles we put in Chief Klinker's path, he was able to move this fire department forward. I know we tried significantly working with the Civil Service Board on the testing. When the question came up, it's a high priority for me personally and all of us here at Alderman Thompson about the trying to get more African Americans in our fire department. And we did work with even Mr. Horvath, who represents the Civil Service Board, trying to do our best to do that. And I can tell you, Chief Klinker was a leader in that field and trying to do our best. Again, we are, we've got so many spots. We are obligated to go by the list that comes out, but I know it's a high priority. I know when we were trying to work with the testing agency, we really tried to address that fact. But I just want to, I got a little sidetracked there, I'm sorry. I just want to say, Jim, thank you. And I have a son who's a firefighter over in a neighboring village of Midlothian. And I know that when that speaker box that you guys got goes off in the middle of the night, it wakes everybody in the house. So Jan, you can maybe finally sleep one night. And again, Jim being all alone, he's been at every fire, every important emergency situation we've had. So again, I hope I didn't take too long, Mayor. It's just he's been a pleasure to work with, and we appreciate the recognition for this chief. And thank you, Jim.